Hey guys, Brent Hull Wednesday design video. Working with Claire from Center by Design in Chicago. This is her house. This is a project that she's starting, and we're working together trying to infuse some magic into the back of the house. Basically, you can see there's an addition here, an addition here. How do you know? Because there's square boxes off the side of this house. It's a really nice pure revival house, Mediterranean revival, and the back doesn't convey that, right? The back conveys this 1970 modernism that really doesn't work with this house. And so what we're trying to do is take some of the fun stuff on the front of the house and pull it around to the back so that it makes more sense. And you'll see, you know, the columns that I've got here mimic the columns that are on either side of our front door, right? And so we've got this barrel tile roof, which we want to go back with. The house originally had a barrel tile roof. It got taken off at some point. That may be the most character defining piece that we're going to put onto this house. And, you know, if it was mine, that'd be the first money I would spend, just because it's so definitive. It's such a great thing. But on the back of this house, we've got this addition that isn't very good. And so what makes it bad? What makes it kind of, you know, messed up? Well, the way they've organized these arches and the way they're up so high with these little thin supports, it looks like the Modern Art Museum here in Fort Worth. It looks like the Amon Carter, which is, you know, Philip Johnson modernism, and that's what this looks like. What I've done is reorganize this thing, and if you look at the floor plan of this house, this is the floor plan. And so you've got these sliding doors here and sliding doors here. They're not the same size. And so what I did was I actually broke this back facade up, and you see my red lines coming through here as I'm trying to organize the space because it doesn't make sense right now. And so you stand in here and then you look right through there and you see this, you know, this little column. It's just weird. And so what I'm doing is I'm organizing these three arches here with interior doors that are also kind of line up on those arches, right? We're creating center lines, and we're creating things that line up and make sense. And the great thing is that you could be inside her house in the living room, and the way we've reorganized it, you work through this arch, down through this arch, and all the way through the back, so that there's some axes and some center lines and some things that make you go, ah, right? Because right now it's like, you know, they put a different building on the inside, and they don't match up, and it's harmful. It's unhealthy. You see too that we're going to try to take some of these details inside. You see on this little arch on the inside, this little entry hall, I'm introducing a chair rail. Claire's got some great wallpapers that she's going to introduce, and these custom lines that she represents and does. And so introducing this arches takes us back to the arch that's on the front of the house. So you drive up to the house, you see an arch supported by columns. You want to see that in other places. And so, you know, putting the arches back in, putting these columns back in are going to help that. You'll also see that I've got kind of a mini entablature, and in one version I've got columns on the outside. That may be too much. In this version I'm just showing the arches and, you know, just straight stucco. She's got an opportunity for a little courtyard with some maybe lattice on the walls, which would be a great detail too. So, you know, a lot of kind of fun opportunities are here if we take that Mediterranean revival style and think about the great attributes of that style and how we can infuse them into this house and how we can make that work. So that's what we're doing. We're taking those traditional details, traditional things. She's got great original windows, and we want to infuse that back into her house. And so we're going to take this bad addition. We're also going to fix this square box up here with a different kind of cornice detail. But by organizing this space, by helping lay it out right, it really can look beautiful again and be a contributing part to this house. I want to show you also what I'm going to try to suggest for the interior. Sometimes what happens in these kind of pure revival houses is the walls can tend to be a little bit blank and a little bit, and in her living room, in this room right here, it's a big space. It's probably 25 feet, maybe even 30 feet long by about, you know, 16 to 18 feet wide, so it's a big space. And on one wall, we've got a fireplace, which has now been overwhelming with this kind of wood surround that's kind of gone on top of it. And I want to strip all of that away, but I am introducing a sense of scale and proportion with paneling. Now, in the Mediterranean style, sometimes you'll see paneling that's painted on the walls. Sometimes you'll see just applied moldings. And so it's very popular in that era to not have raised panels or any kind of walls, but just an applied molding. So very typical and appropriate. And that's what I'm doing. I'm showing on the one side that you could actually, two panels and one big panel above would be one way to treat these walls, to introduce, because I love the chair rail at about 32 as a simple molding that runs across, and then by panelizing those areas, because if you just look at this space, it's actually lays out very symmetrically as far as blank window, blank fireplace, blank window, blank, right? So there's a pattern to it, and so it very naturally and very easily lays out with these panels as they go across here. I'm also introducing a more European type of fireplace here, and you could actually even have quite a bit of fun with tile here. You could do a big splash of color with tile as you play with this Mediterranean style. Is it more Moorish? What is the style influence that's going to go on here? I had also showed that we've got a doorway going into that entry hall, which I showed you here. Over here, there's just a blank wall. And I said we could do a false opening, right? Something that had been closed in later, something that conveys this story that balances off these windows on either side. All of these things, all of these ideas are an effort to help introduce that scale and proportion in a period way. And so you see that I've actually specified and I'm showing some moldings and some details. There's a keystone that goes up into the crown. Don't have to do those things. These are all suggestions, but Claire's obviously super talented, so she's going to be able to take these ideas, and the organization, the sense of scale and proportion, the size of moldings will all help her wallpaper, her decoration, really make this place astounding. Next week, we're going to be talking to Claire. I'm going to show some of these ideas to her and see what she thinks, see whether she likes them or not. And you guys can get to see what's typically happens where I'll present a lot of ideas, and I'll oftentimes get you guys asking questions like, well, did they do it? Can you show us some after pictures? Well, sometimes they accept them, sometimes they don't. Sometimes these projects are still in the process of being built. So this one, you actually see some reaction from the homeowner designer. So join us for that.